Suzanne Schubert, dietitian with Horizon Health, and today we're going to make overnight oats. I get a lot of questions from clients that I see at the hospital about what can I eat for breakfast that's not eggs, that's high in protein. Well, overnight oats are an easy option, something that you can make that's high protein that doesn't include eggs. So first things first, we're gonna use rolled oats. So you don't wanna use instant oats for this recipe because they become too mushy and don't really give a lot of texture. So you're gonna use about a cup of rolled oats. So I'm gonna measure that out. And by the way, this recipe does make 2 servings. Okay, and you can make it, I'm gonna make it all the 2 servings in one big container, but a lot of times I will just measure out the individual amounts in mason jars. So I might have like 6 mason jars lined up and I'll measure out ingredients and make overnight oats for the week for breakfast and have it all ready to go in the refrigerator. So you can do it either way, but today I'm gonna just make it all in the same container. All right, so I've got a cup of the old-fashioned oats, and then I'm gonna add in some chia seeds. So chia seeds are an awesome way of adding in a lot of extra fiber. So 1 tablespoon, which is what I'm gonna add for these 2 servings, adds 8 grams of fiber. Okay, so we're gonna add those in. And then you're gonna add about a scoop of your favorite protein powder. So I recommend using a vanilla. I feel like that really adds a lot of good flavor. Sometimes chocolate doesn't mix. I don't feel like it tastes quite as good in the overnight oat recipes. So we're gonna add about a scoop here of the vanilla, and I use an Ascent whey protein powder. That just happens to be my favorite option. So that's what I added in today. All right, and then I'm going to give this a stir. Okay. All right, and then once you have the ingredients pretty evenly distributed, you can go ahead and add the wet ingredient. So then you can use just sort of your milk of choice. So I like using soy milk. So, and I recommend if you're using dairy alternatives to try to buy the unsweetened versions. Unsweetened soy milk is kind of hard to find. So if you can't find unsweetened soy milk, unsweetened almond milk, or even unsweetened oat milk are good options as well. So you're gonna use a cup of milk. So I'm gonna measure that out. All right. And soy milk too it's actually a great source of protein as well. So a cup of soy milk adds around 8-ish grams of protein. So it's actually the highest protein dairy alternative milk that you can purchase. All right, and then I'm gonna add in some peanut butter. If you don't love peanut butter, you don't have to add it in, but I love peanut butter. So I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons. So it adds some really heart-healthy fat and even more protein. All right, just got peanut butter in there. Okay, and then we're gonna stir that up. And then you can see I've used a mixing bowl that has a spout. So this is gonna make it much easier for me to actually be able to pour this into the mason jars. If you just have a standard mixing bowl, it can get a little bit messy. So again, it might be easier for you at home if you don't have the mixing bowl with the spout to go ahead and mix it directly in your mason jars. All right. Okay, and once that's all evenly mixed, grab out my mason jars. I like using the ones that have the wide mouths versus the more narrow mouths at the top. It's just easier to get into and pour into. You'll just kind of evenly distribute your overnight oats between both jars. All right, and then to top this off, you can use fresh or you can use frozen fruit. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash these blueberries. Okay. And then typically what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll add a handful just to the top of each jar. You can add as many as you like. Probably about a fourth to a half a cup is a good amount. All right, and then all you do is screw the lids on each jar, and then you'll put it in the refrigerator, and you want to leave them in there for about 3 to 4 hours, or overnight's actually best. And then final product wise, I did go ahead and prepare a couple of jars ahead of time. So just to kind of give you an idea of what they look like. There you have it, overnight oats. I hope you like them.